Breaking now, the first hearing on the mishandling of classified documents by former President Donald Trump. Trump's lawyers in the Fort Pierce federal courthouse today. The judge denying a protective order requested by the special counsel on the handling of those documents in the lead up to the trial. And now we wait to see whether the judge pushes back the start of the trial.
We have live team coverage from Fort Pierce. Angela Rozier has reports on the arguments made from inside the courtroom today. We begin with our co-anchor Todd McDermott and the latest developments this evening. Todd.
Felicia, Tiffany, here's the headline. That August 14th date, that will not happen. The judge so much as said so by saying the prosecution special counsel's December 11th date for trial start seemed to be too compressed a time frame. And as we've been reporting, the Trump legal team wants this trial pushed back till after the 2024 election. So that August 14th date, while not saying it in so many words, will not happen. Again, it's less than a month away now. Today, U.S. District Judge Aileen Cannon, as you said, heard from Trump lawyers and from the legal team the special counsel has put in place to prosecute this case over whether former President Donald Trump mishandled federal documents, classified and top secret documents related to national security after he left the White House and lied about having them. Last month, he pleaded not guilty to 37 counts in that indictment about the mishandling of the documents after leaving office and lying about it, as well as hiding them at his home. He's accused of illegally storing the documents and material in his bedroom, bathroom, shower, and other locations at Mar-a-Lago. And today, during the nearly 2-hour hearing, Trump's attorneys and prosecutors for the special counsel's team discussed how they will handle classified material in the case to review it before a trial. Just yesterday, prosecutors said the defendants were stonewalling and explained why they will oppose, without saying why, the special counsel's motion for a protective order to be issued before the classified discovery is turned over to defendants. That is, to keep that evidence from being released publicly and mishandled, because again, they are connected to national security secrets. Today, the judge denied prosecutors' motion on that. Leading up to Trump's indictment, it was revealed in court filings that the government had taken custody of more than 320 documents with classification markings that were in Donald Trump's possession. That total includes material he handed over to the National Archives in January 2022, as well as material his legal team gave in response to a subpoena from the Department of Justice months later. And then you recall that FBI seizure of documents last August of 2022. That includes the documents they seized when agents searched Mar-a-Lago at that time. That is the crux of this case, those 31 or so documents. There's also an obstruction charge connected to that for former President Trump, as well as his co-conspirator, his personal aide, Walt Nauta. Joining me now, Angela Rozier, who was in the courtroom today during this nearly 2-hour hearing. And there was a lot, Angela, the judge didn't say, but she did have a message for both sides.
Most definitely, as you say, no court date here today, but I tell you one thing, all the attorneys inside that courtroom, everyone had something to say about when this trial should start. There was a lot of back and forth between the attorneys, both inside that courtroom. We heard from Trump's attorneys, and they say that they wanted to push this court date back to 2024 in November. They said there is a lot of information, a lot of documents. At one point, they quoted 1.1 million pages worth of documents in this case, and 1,000 hours of videotape also in this case. They say they need the time to go over all this so they can, be fair in this trial. They also talked about other trials that the former president is also dealing with. They say they have to handle that as well. But again, the attorneys for the government said that, look, we were set to start on August 14th. They pushed it back to December, so that shows that they're giving them time to get this case together, and they said that they should be starting this case in December and not next year.
All right, Angela, thank you. We should point out that today she did put both sides to the test by saying, can you tell me when you might agree on how this evidence is handled and how long it would take to review it? And prosecutors, whatever their answer was, the defense team is key here, and they said they might be able to settle on a date for a trial by November of this year. By fall, they might have enough time to review the documents and get back to the judge. But she wants the two sides to agree on how to handle this evidence going forward. Also today, a significant new development in the special counsel's probe into 2020 election interference. And that investigation, former President Trump has received a letter from the special counsel's office, what's called a target letter, saying he does face the prospect of yet another federal indictment. It would involve January 6th and the days leading up to that, and what happened that day, but also the overall theme of trying to hold on to power in various means that may have been done. The letter informs Donald Trump that he is a target of the federal criminal probe in alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election results. He confirmed this on a social media platform that he actually got the letter Sunday night, and that he has just days, 4 in all, to report to the grand jury if he chooses to testify. That deadline would actually be Thursday, this coming Thursday. Federal prosecutors questioned witnesses about efforts to encourage so-called fake electors to submit an alternate electoral votes for Trump in key states he had lost to President Joe Biden. Again, fake electors that would try to gum up the electoral college process. And today, many were actually indicted in a separate case in Michigan. Divided reaction today on the GOP side to this target letter, including Trump's nearest rival in the race for the Republican nomination, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
I think it was shown how he was in the White House and didn't do anything while things were going on.
This is the only way that the Democrats have to beat President Trump, is to arrest him, smear him, charge him with ridiculous charges.
Now, Donald Trump has long insisted he has done nothing wrong, either before the election, on January 6th, and the days after that as well. We should point out today a spokesman for the special counsel declined to comment on that target letter. It is not a sure thing that the former president will be indicted in that investigation by the special counsel, but it is very, very clear that could happen. Our coverage of the former president continues on WPBF.com and on our news app as well. You can find more information on how local officers are preparing for that trial to come. Again, the date still is August, but the judge all but said today it can't happen when she's saying it would be compressed to have a trial date as late as December of this year. And we'll have updates as well on the investigation and efforts to overturn the 2020 election. I have much more coverage here from Fort Pierce in the federal courthouse coming your way at 6 o'clock. For now, I'll send it back